Hey crew, it's Adam. I'm a husband, a father, a pastor, a follower of Jesus who, just like you, is trying to learn what it looks like to fully live and follow Jesus in the middle of real life. It is one thing to be someone on Sundays, but what about Monday through Saturday? And so here, we're going to talk about faith and making a difference in the messy, ordinary moments where it's often the hardest to live out. Some weeks I'll share what God is teaching me. Other weeks I'll sit down with leaders, pastors, athletes, friends. There's no fluff, just encouragement and truth for your life between Sundays. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, hello, crew. Welcome back to Life Between Sundays. It is Adam and Emily.
Here we go.
Here on this sunshiny day for episode 337. Ready to rock and roll.
I can't believe it's been that many already.
300. You say that every time, I think.
I know. I'm just shocked every time. I got to give a shout out to you, Emily.
Oh, boy.
Grayson and I, my daughter and I, we haven't listened to an episode for a while. I can't stand my voice. So I don't do it very often. But she's like, Emily's the best.
Oh, gosh.
Like she just like loves you. And she's like, she makes it so much more fun. And
Grayson just warms my heart. Everything she says, I'm like, I love her so much. So shout out to Grayson.
Grayson, am I not fun on my own? Yeah. Do I need somebody else? But
just liven it up a little.
I had to give the shout out to you.
She just makes me feel so good. I love her. She's so sweet.
She's great.
Oh, the best. That'll bring us right into our high-low buffalo. What do you got?
High-low buffalo. High is March, which means in South Dakota, spring does not show up in March, by the way. That's a lie. That happens in April or May. But we do start to get warmer weather because spring is like consistently warm. So that's not here. But so that's my high and also my low. That spring doesn't actually happen.
It looks just kind of like now that the snow's melted. We were driving the other day and we're like, everything just looks like so dead right now.
Everything's just
dead.
It's
so sad. I'm like, oh.
It is. So the high is March, and March is my birthday month, March 23rd, if anybody needs to know. My other high
Are you a big birthday celebrator? Like, do you guys go all out for your birthday, or are you kind of just like more
No, it's pretty low key. Like, I do love hearing from friends and family. Like, that's just kind of fun and whatever. But I love hanging out. Hopefully we'll do a meal with my kiddos and then with Becky too, and then maybe do lunch or something like that with a friend of mine. So
yeah, I feel like people are just like one or the other. You either absolutely love your birthday and you just want to like spend the whole day doing whatever you want to do, or people on the other side, like my husband, he couldn't care less that it is his birthday. He wants you to not acknowledge that he exists. He doesn't want you to say January 26th.
That's just for the record. Add that to your...
Yeah. He's like, don't tell me happy. Don't tell anyone that it's my birthday. No one needs to know. And I'm like going into restaurants everywhere going like, it's his birthday. Did we get a birthday dessert? I'm like, I'm going to use this for my own benefit.
I have convinced my wife, because we have a little tiny cabin up northeast South Dakota. She has never stayed the night there, but she has said that as the Friday before my birthday that we are going to stay at the cabin.
Oh, there you go.
I am looking forward to that, Becky Weber. So that's my high. My buffalo is we did a challenge this last weekend in the message. We were looking at James chapter 3. James talks about the power of our words. And so my simple challenge was a 7-day word challenge where you only use your words for good. You only use your words to praise God, to build others up, to encourage. And if you screw up with that, which you most likely will, I want to challenge you to write those words down. If you like poorly use your words, write those words down as a way of acknowledging them to God, acknowledging them to yourself, and like grieving that you said those things. And then if you are able to apologize to the other person that you said them towards, and then move on. So that's 7 days.
It's a hard challenge.
Some of you are going to end up writing a novel.
After we went to the gym last night, and it was so insanely busy at this gym that we went to, and I had a lot to write down after when we were leaving the gym. I like just took out my pen and I did it on my phone. Me and Sam were driving home, and I'm just like, I got a lot to type out right now.
How about that?
I'm like, I'm so sorry, everyone.
That's great. So there is my high-low buffalo.
I love it. That's great.
Yep.
Another small little announcement thing.
Yes.
You've been coaching pastors.
Oh.
How has that been for you? What has that been like?
It's been awesome. I'm currently coaching over 30 some pastors across the country. I myself have 2 coaches right now. I've had a coach for all 20 years of ministry, except the 5 years I needed one the most. So during my hardest season as a pastor, I didn't have a coach, and I only wish that I would have. And so if you are a pastor, or if you have a pastor at your church, they need a coach. You need a coach, genuinely. It may not be me, but you need somebody. I genuinely believe this is true in every profession, that you should have a coach and a mentor. But if you are a pastor, or you have a pastor, and you think it could be a fit, I would be honored to jump on a quick Zoom call with you and talk about what coaching with me looks like. You can find out more at adamweber.com/coaching. That's where you can get the details and find out more. It's been one of the greatest joys of this last year. 2025 is when I started it.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been super fun just even seeing, and just like getting to know the pastors more, and just like who they are and more about their church has been super cool.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's that.
Yeah, great. Today on the episode,
Yes.
hard turn, we got Justin Roethlingshoefer
Gosh,
on the episode today. Justin is a human performance expert, a health strategist, a founder. Justin does a lot.
He's a trainer for Brandon Lake. He's going on tour with Brandon again. A trainer for...
Oh, he goes on tour with them?
Oh, yeah. Like he goes... I mean, he like lives with them on tour.
That's cool.
So goes on tour with Brandon Lake, goes on tour with Phil Wickham. It's the personal trainer for Pastor Rich Wilkerson, a guy that I have crazy respect for. And he's just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
He is a energetic spark plug to the soul. And so we talk about our health and how our health, our physical body, impacts everything else. Rarely does the church talk about it. He gives a stat on people who attend church are actually more out of shape, which is insane. Yeah, he's got I don't know where the stats comes from, but like,
did you guys kind of talk about like why that is? Okay,
yeah.
good.
So
like,
it's really powerful. It should be the opposite. Christians should be the most in shape people on the planet, because our body is a temple, a gift given to us by God. And so we just talk about that. He shares some high level stuff that kind of went over my head, just to be really candid. But then he gets into some nuts and bolts things that are really, really cool. Just on water intake. The thing that challenged me the most was sleep habits, going to bed on time. And he does this 3-2-1 thing that I thought was just a really good pattern. And so you're going to love this episode. Whether you're into health or not, don't roll your eyes. Your health matters. Enjoy. Okay, Justin, I want to start with a question. When it comes to your Monday through Saturday life in your physical health, what are 1 or 2 habits that are kind of non-negotiables for you? Like daily things that you're doing on a regular basis. What are the top 1 or 2 things?
Yeah, so I think, to be honest with you, I'll even just change a little bit of language around that. It's not even Monday through Saturday. It's Monday through Sunday, because I see every act of behavior as a form of worship. And I think what happens often is we think about these habits and behaviors that we're trying to abide by, that we're trying to step into. And we see them as like laws, or we see them as things that we do separate from God, when in fact they're what help us integrate and get closer to Him. And so my Monday through Sunday is always relatively the same. I wake up at the exact same time. I start in the Word. I start in Scripture. I do something difficult and hard for my body to, and quite honestly, I usually don't listen to music. If anything, I'll start with a little bit of worship music, but then I'll shut it off, because that's just when I allow God to speak to and through me. Is doing these things that are difficult, whether it's a run, whether it's a weight training session, whether it's some type of Metcon, you name it. And then every action throughout the day. I think it's so easy as business owners, we get chained to our desk and we're like, yeah, I worked out in the morning and away I go. But then by the end of the day have 3,000 steps, and we wonder why our low back pain doesn't go away. We wonder why our weight doesn't change. We wonder why our mental clarity doesn't rise. Because we get locked into these components. Nutritionally, I was preaching at a church here in Miami at a pastor's event. It was about 700 pastors. And I said this, I made this statement because somebody asked me this question, what do you do for a cheat meal? Or do you have a cheat day meal? And I I kind of laughed, and I didn't know how this was going to be I didn't know how this was going to be responded to or received. But I said, to be honest, with everything we just talked about, it's almost like you're wanting to give yourself like an excuse, a sidestep as to what it is that you're calling to be obedient in. And I said, how weird would it be if I said, hey, you know what? 1 day a week, you can watch as much porn as you want. How about one meal a week? You can go and do whatever you want, but you know what? Just you can have one porn video this week. That would be so weird. Like nobody would ever say that. But yet that's how we've looked at this physical component. It's like
yes.
It's a throwaway. And I'll give this. And so I know I've kind of diverted a little bit from the question, and I'll get back to it. But I think we've taken this component of physical health, and it's only been brought down to workout and nutrition. It's like, no. This is a whole human experience. This is about how do we walk? How do we talk? How do we sleep? How do we wake up? How do we breathe? How do we eat? How do we nourish this thing? What's our environment like? It is such a large conversation that we often forget the disciplines. And because in this affluent, and when I say this universally, in this affluent world we live in, when there's a dollar to be made anywhere, suddenly obedience and disciplines in our health become a greater sacrifice than a financial donation. And so we're so quick to be able to say, oh yeah, I tithed, I did my due diligence, but yet we're living in disobedience in how we live every single day.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Maybe why should someone care? This is the softball question. Why should someone care about their health?
I mean,
like if they're a Jesus follower and they're doing, fairly well, like as far as like health wise, I mean, I'm not in great shape, but whatever, like why should I care? Like, let's start there. Why should I care?
Yeah. So before we even get into like, here's what I want to call out right away, because you'll hear a lot of fitness people talk about how they should care about their health, and because it's about longevity, and you don't want longevity. What everybody's looking for is they want to get out of the suffering that they feel every day. They don't want to actually live longer. They want to stop feeling the way they do today. They want to feel differently. Well, if you want to feel differently, the true feeling of longevity can be actually experienced in the moment when you live in obedience with how God designed you. And that's the big revelation that people that people have overlooked is think about a triangle. I like to think of a pyramid. And a lot of us go through this sequence where we're all in. January 1st rolls around. We'll hear maybe this podcast. You'll go to read a book, and I'm all in. I'm going to have a consistent wake time. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to do breath work in the afternoon. I'm going to cook all my meals at home. I'm going to get a water bottle. I'm going to start traveling with it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm all in. But then all of a sudden, life kicks in. Then all of a sudden, we have 45 emails. Then all of a sudden, the kids get sick. Then all of a sudden, holidays roll around. Then all of a sudden, something else happens, right? And you're like, whoa. I'm all out. I'm all out for this season. I'm all out. Well, here's the difference. When we're all in, this is when we suddenly start to idolize the body. We start to idolize the habit. And it becomes the thing we actually worship. On the other side, when we go all out, is when we say, I'm actually choosing to ignore the thing that God created. I'm choosing to ignore the thing with the greatest level of intelligence that's ever been put onto this earth. I'm choosing to ignore this thing. But when actually we start to see this thing as the image of God, when we start to see this thing as obedience, when we start to see this thing as the tool, God won't love you more because of your habits, but because of God's love for you, you better be changing your habits. And so what does that look like in actuality? And you go back to Scripture and you start to see that the way that God communicates, He cares about the body. When we are born, when He breathed life through the nostrils of a spirit and breathed spirit into a physical body, life happened. He breathed life into a physical body. When we die, the spirit leaves this body. And when we get to heaven, our spirit gets put in a new body. So bodies matter. The physical component matters. This is not just some meat suit that we're in for this moment. This is the tool. This is the vehicle. This is the vessel that we've been given, that we've been entrusted with. I love the word entrusted because it's giving trust to somebody else. It's what we've been entrusted with to go and carry out the calling that God's put on each one of our lives. And so suddenly, if we act in disobedience and disrespect to the thing in which God has called very good, the only thing he called very good in this world, then how do you expect to get the next level of responsibility? You want to grow your church? My gosh, start with the habits. You want to have a deep family that's on fire for God and deeply shows deep love? Start with your habits. You want to go and have a business that's growing, that's booming, that's on the rise, that's having a big impact? Start with your habits and watch when you have these little disciplines, these little levels of obediences, you start to feel like a person on fire, and a person on fire attracts those in which you're trying to serve. And as moment as you start to step into that, that's when everything changes.
Okay, so good. Okay, that gives the heart. Okay, I'm going to allow myself to be a guinea pig here, and I don't want you to pull any punches with this guy.
Let's go.
So I want to be in better physical health. Sure. I also energy levels, I'm trying to figure that part out. So this is so weird to say. I'm getting 8,000 steps in a day. Normally the last few thousand are at the very end of my day because I need to do it. What would you say? I try to go to bed. I'm usually in bed by 9:30 at night. I get up at 5:15 each day. So I'm getting right around 6.5 hours of sleep. What should I start doing? So I've been trying to do a workout at least twice a week. I'm sitting at a desk most of the day, even though I have a desk that goes up and down, and I could get a treadmill underneath my desk. What would you, and diet wise, so I'm eating a lot of yogurt, string cheese, hash browns. I was on a rice cake thing for a while, which I don't think was probably the healthiest thing for me. So
I love it. So
what would dissect me if you would?
Yeah. So Adam, I think what you just talked about, I think it's so beautiful. And the reason I smile is because the thing you're experiencing is what so many people experience. They've taken the world's approach to health. What should I do? How should I get to where, I want more energy. Okay, well, there's energy drink companies that are blowing up. Well, I want to have a better sleep. Well, there's melatonin and supplements that are blowing up. Well, I want to look better. Well, there's different diets that now are blowing up. These are worldly approaches to a godly problem. I'm just going to pause there for a second and let that hit.
So good.
It's a worldly approach to a godly problem. The world did not create man. God did.
Yeah.
And so if we want to heal, we have to go back to God's blueprint. It's like if all of a sudden I was given a DVD player from the early 2000s and I threw a CD into it and I'm wondering why all of a sudden it's not playing music. Well, because it was meant to play a DVD, which is a video. It's the same thing. You throw a DVD player or a DVD into a old CD player, and now anybody that was born in the early 2000s won't have a clue what I'm talking about, but that's okay. But we're sitting here and you take a DVD, you put it in a CD player, and it doesn't play. Why? Because it wasn't built for that. And so we have to go back to how we were created. And when you go back to how we were created with trillions of cells. 30 trillion cells is what our bodies operate within. Think about this for a second. Every 84 days, 500 million of those cells become completely brand new. That means that every 5 to 7 years, you become a completely brand new cellular human being. So if we actually listen to this, God created us to heal. He created us and designed us to thrive, but we have to start living differently based upon how we were designed. So the next logical question is, okay, well, how do we know where do we go? How do we know how to heal a cell? How do we know what the cell needs? Well, the cell needs 3 things. It needs oxygen, it needs the ability to detoxify, and it needs nutrients. Those are the 3 things a cell needs in order to thrive. So if it doesn't get those 3 things in an adequate level, that means that every brand new cell that's ultimately created because of how we were built just immediately starts to decay. So the reason that we're not getting better is not because our body's broken, but rather the systems, the order, and the habits that we operate in daily are misaligned with how God's design for our body is. So wouldn't it be amazing if God was so forthright in thinking about how our body was created, that he gave us a single metric to understand how our body was handling stress and if their habits and behaviors were actually wired according to how we were designed? He did. That metric is called heart rate variability. And what heart rate variability looks at is it looks at the differentiating time intervals between each successive heartbeat. So if you and I were each sitting here and we both had a resting heart rate of 60 beats per minute, we would think logically 60 beats per minute divided by 60 seconds, that means our heart is beating at 1 beat per second, very rhythmically. But that's not the case. So all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you look at your phone, you start sending messages, you get the kids off to school, you got your meetings all day long, you're worried about what's happening, you're trying to go and accomplish all these different things, all these different tasks, you grab a quick bite to eat, you try to go get a couple more steps in at night, you go and you fall asleep maybe with the game on, you lay down in bed and flop into bed because you're exhausted and do it again the next day. Your body's like, man, I'm just trying to keep this guy alive because mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress, the body doesn't know the difference. And the oxygen is not where it needs to be. The detoxification levels aren't where it needs to be. And the nutrient levels aren't where it needs to be. And so the lower your heart rate variability every given day, HRV, you can find it in your Apple health settings. Yeah. You can find it in your Whoop Band, in your Aura. All of these different things have HRV. The lower your heart rate variability number, the less variation between each beat, the less, it's a warning sign, the less adaptation your body is having to the stress every day, and the habits and behaviors that you are using consistently are out of order. And that's God's signal to you. The higher your HRV, it's saying, hey, you have a greater adaptation to the stress in your day because you're giving your body what it needs, oxygen, nutrients, and the ability to detox. And so when we see these things, we have to use this number as like this, thank God you're giving me a warning sign. Thank God you're letting me know what's happening. Thank God that I can actually start to create change. And so HRV is the number everybody has to understand, everybody has to look at. And then I'm going to take the next step. I'm going to dissect you a little bit more to give a little bit more guidance.
So I don't know if I'm looking at the right number. Right now it is saying 78.
That's your,
and my
that's your resting heart rate. So if you open up your phone.
Okay, shoot.
If you open up your phone.
Yeah. Oh, HRV.
There you go.
43.
Okay. How old are you by chance?
43.
You're 43 years old?
Yeah.
So as a somewhere between 40 and 45.
I'm a little scared.
Just listen, and this is cool, right? So as a 45-year-old male, what you want as an average HRV is 50 or higher. And if you have, for your age, we've taken a look at 5 million people's data points. If you are above the 50th percentile for your age, so for a 45-year-old male, it would be 50 or above. If you're above the 50th percentile for your age, you have an 84% less likelihood of getting any chronic illness in your lifetime. Whoa. Because what's happening is now you're living in accordance to how your body was designed. You're starting to give it back what God actually asked you to do. And so when you start to think about these things, when you start to think about the three things, oxygen, detoxification, and nutrients, these are the critical components that we come back to. So what habits should we be abiding by to make sure that these happen? Well, number one, oxygen has to be flowing through our system. So when we think about exercise, you have to be in two zones, zone 2 and zone 5. Zone 2 is like your incline walking on a treadmill, or a weighted vest walk, calling a ruck, or a steady state bicycle at 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. You need about 3 hours of zone 2 every single week in order to create oxygen efficiency of the heart. Then you go to zone 5. Zone 5 is your heavy interval work. That's going to be like your sprint training, your heavy resistance interval on a bike. That's 90 to 100% of your max heart rate. That creates the adaptation of the heart called cardiac output. When you optimize for those two things, it means that oxygen is now efficiently flowing through your body. So when all of a sudden you're sleeping, it's less stress on your body. When we're sitting here doing this podcast, it's less stress on your body. And so it has no longer anything to do about six-pack abs and muscle and weight loss. It has had everything to do about oxygen efficiency in the body. When oxygen efficiency increases, thus what happens? Stress in the body decreases, HRV increases. When we go over to detoxification is measured through sleep quality, not sleep quantity, but sleep quality. How much time are you spending in what we call REM and slow wave or deep sleep? It's the restorative sleep. It's where mentally and physically your body starts to repair. And the way that God created us, there's something in the body called the glymphatic system. And it's the only time in which the glymphatic system is actually activated is during those middle two sleep stages, the sleep quality stages. And the glymphatic system is basically the car wash for the cells. It's what takes all the toxins and eliminates them through the kidneys, through the liver, through your stool, through your urine, through the sweat glands and the lymphatic system, all of these things. It's the only time it turns on. And so it's no wonder that we as human beings have started to disrespect sleep, disrespect how we go to bed, disrespect all these things. We've actually disrespected the first thing that God ever created, which was light and darkness in Genesis, which is the circadian rhythm, the governing cycle for how the body actually functions. And so if we can go to bed at a certain time that's consistent and wake at a certain time that's consistent, Monday through Sunday, January through January through December, we now get a hormonal unification that actually starts to allow the body to detoxify at the level necessary in order for our body to start to heal. And then when we go over to nutrients, you start looking at the food we eat, artificial ingredients, artificial colorings, processed food, things that have 17 different ingredients, not one. We are relying on what man made us, not what God gave us. And the moment that we go back to single ingredient foods and stop leaning on convenience is the moment that God can actually start to get the nutrients into the cells that the body needs. So see this, you start to eat single ingredient foods, you start to have a steady sleep time, you prepare at night and then wake in the morning. I'll talk about that in a second because it's very profound.
Yeah.
And then we get ourselves moving and a level of oxygenation of the body has no choice other than to start healing because the cells that are brand new get into a better environment. And that is literally a wake-up call on not just random habits we're choosing, but rather going back to obedient habits that we're abiding by based on how God actually created our bodies to heal.
Before we go any further, there are just some awesome partners we'd like to thank for making Life Between Sundays possible. Adam, who do we got for our partners today?
Yeah, our partners are incredible. I can't believe I get to partner with them. Our first partner is the International Justice Mission. IJM is a global nonprofit working to end slavery and violence around the world. Talk about a calling. I mean, that's just unbelievable. To end slavery and violence around the world. They focus specifically on the most vulnerable of people, which is people experiencing in poverty. I was able to work and see firsthand the work that they're doing in Kenya last year. It's unbelievable. But hear this, they don't just rescue people out of slavery. Instead, they try to change the structures of society and communities so that people don't end up in slavery to start. If you're interested in becoming a Freedom Partner, which is someone who gives on a monthly basis, my wife and I are Freedom Partners. I want to encourage you so strongly to go to ijm.org. Even if it's $20 a month, $50 a month, ijm.org, you will not regret it. It's so cool to think about even being a part of the incredible work that they do. Our second partner is Vernity Mitsubishi. Vernity is a growing employee-owned faith-based company that strives to deliver dreams and transform lives in all that they do. I had one of my close friends just texted me this week and just said, I just had the greatest customer service ever at Vernity.
Yeah,
I was so
surprising.
pumped. I didn't reach out to him. He reached out to me. This is the second vehicle that he's gotten. And he said his wife just bought a new vehicle. And she's like, it was just unbelievable. And it's a guy who's pretty particular, so I feel like he'd tell me, if you are looking for a vehicle, no matter if it's an Acura, a Honda, Mitsubishi, look no further, vernity.com. And something I think we often forget is they will ship a vehicle to you. So if you're looking for a tractor, boat,
golf cart,
ATV, you name it, vernity.com. Justin, that was like a masterclass. Okay, so break that down. Like in those three areas, what are two things that I like really practical? Like talk to me as if I'm a simple dude. In those three areas, two things I can do.
Yeah, so first off, oxygen. You're going to want to go 180 minutes in zone 2 every week. So what that would look like is 25 minutes a day. Go throw on a weighted vest and go for a fast-paced walk while you're doing a Zoom call that you don't have to be the person leading it. Easy.
Love that.
Done. Simple, right?
I love even the practicalness of like, it's not going to be added on to your day.
Oh,
it's already in your day.
Already in your day.
Okay. So
there's one.
That's one thing. That for that same category, what else should I do?
Go, for 10 minutes 10 minutes every day. 10 minutes every day. Get on a bicycle or get on a treadmill and go as hard and as fast as you possibly can for 35 seconds and then rest for 60. Repeat that over the 10 minutes. You've hit zone 5, you've hit zone 2 for your week. Done. You watch all of a sudden, you start to feel like you're not breathing as heavy. Watch all of a sudden simple things that caused exhaustion before start to be easy in your day. Start to notice these things. Very simple, easy tasks. Second, we talk about sleep quality and optimizing for that.
Yeah.
I go back to Genesis. You want to go back to understand how the body was formed? You got to go back to the story that told it. Go back to Genesis and God's order in creation. And there's two things I'll say on this. So you go in and go to the story of Cain and Abel. It says in Genesis that Cain gave over the course of time, where it says that Abel gave his first and best. And they both had the habit of giving, of tithing.
Yeah.
One was blessed, that the other was not. It's not the habit, it's the order. God cares about order.
Yeah.
And so you're out of order. And so when we come back to how order matters in sleep, we think our days start in the morning. But Genesis says, evening came, morning came, first day. We've got our days backwards. The evening time is sacred time. It's time to prepare for the most important thing that we can do in our day, which is sleep, so we can wake up prepared to serve and pour out. And so at night, very simple, a consistent sleep time, a consistent wake time. You do that, watch a lot of things start to change. The second thing, a 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours before bed, no food. You got 400 times more melatonin in your gut than is produced by the pineal gland in your brain. 2 hours before bed, no more work or heavy decision making, because mental, physical, spiritual, emotional stress, the body doesn't know the difference. And 1 hour before bed, no more blue light. Blue light is a man-made emission that ultimately delays melatonin release by up to 1 hour for every 30 minutes of blue light exposure after the sun sets. So we start to think about this. We have a preparation period to sleep with a consistent sleep and wake time. Now we're starting to actually experience the depth of rest that God gave us. And the last thing that I'll kind of bring to tie all that back together.
This is so good. That part was really surprising, because I think it's like, I got to work harder and do more and do more and do more. And you're like, no.
Do less, man. Do less.
Yeah,
and watch,
that's so good.
And watch this. Cain was ultimately told by God, he said, you will be a restless wanderer. And as we step into restlessness, what does restlessness mean? It just means you cannot rest. You cannot recover. You cannot restore. You cannot sleep. Cain is called the founder of cities. Created the first city.
Yeah.
What do you find in cities? But restless wanderers.
Yeah.
Continuing to do instead of being able to receive rest. And then we pop into the nutrient section and we go to nutrients, and it's like, okay, how do we optimize for this? How do we move through this? Well, first is we eat foods with single ingredients. That's it. We eat foods with single ingredients. We make a salad. We throw in lettuce. We throw in cucumber. We throw in tomatoes. We throw in chicken. We throw single ingredients, single ingredient foods. We want to have a pasta sauce. We look at the ingredients. We don't have the one that has titanium disulfate and magnesium biglycinate and monosodium glutamate. Like that's not what we put into this temple. That's not what we go and do. But rather we go and buy the tomato sauce that has tomatoes, basil, oregano, salt, citric acid,
so good,
and olive oil. That's what we put in, and that's what we eat. That's what we go and do. So it doesn't mean you can't have a packaged food. It just means your packaged food has to be full of single ingredients. It's not that we have to go and make everything from scratch like we live on a farm. No, we just make more conscious, intentional decisions. So that's number one. The second thing is making sure that we're getting half our body weight in ounces of water every single day. 65% of our body is made up of water, and the cell, the only thing that actually starts to allow for permeability across the cell membrane is through water. So we walk around dehydrated. We sit in here not being able to actually realize the alertness, the awakeness, and the vibrancy of what we sit in. So we start to do those things. Now watch all of a sudden, you start to magically heal. Watch your autoimmune disorder start to disappear. Watch your diabetes start to get back in control. Watch your IBS start to go away. Watch your inability to fall asleep start to change. Watch you start sleeping through the night in a beautiful way. Watch your kids who have a hard time regulating their behavior start to all of a sudden change and be different children, because their cells suddenly are starting to do what they were created to do, which was have enough oxygen, detoxify, and have the nutrients necessary in order to thrive.
I love that. Justin, any other like hacks that you would say that like people who work in an office job or whatever, that you're just like, here's some low hanging fruit, just bam, 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 in any of those categories? Is there anything that you see? I mean, the Zoom call walking instead of just at your desk, game changing. Like anything else that you would say, even for me standing at my, standing at my desk, should I get a walking treadmill that I have at my desk? Like any other hacks that you would say?
Yeah. So I think oftentimes we look for hacks, but we don't develop systems. And if we develop systems, hacks just became obsolete. What I like to say is for all of our clients, for all people that we work with, I want you to become no longer a consumer, but I want you to be a fulfiller. Because once we eliminate the problems that you have from a health standpoint, no matter what somebody throws your way from the typical marketing, you're no longer a consumer, because my solutions are solved, because I have a process and a system for how to do this. So when you think about somebody in a desk job, what you should typically do, and like how we plan this, is what gets prioritized gets completed. So too many of us don't actually start to put 15-minute gap wedges in our day. So what I usually suggest is get 2 to 3, 5 to 10 minute gap wedges in between meetings that immediately have you go outside, do a lap, breathe intentionally, walk back in. You can make a phone call while you're out there. You can go and check in with the kids. You can go and check in with your spouse. You can go and invite a coworker to come with you, but go for a walk outside, 10 minutes, take a breath, and watch how your day suddenly gets better. You do that two to 3 times a day. Now, not only have you added steps to your day, and watch suddenly you hit 10,000 every single day because you don't even try anymore, but watch all of a sudden how the brain fog starts to lift. Watch all of a sudden how you start to feel a little bit more in control of what seemed out of control before. Watch how all of a sudden the problems that felt like they were caving in on you start to become just hands off and solved in different ways that you didn't even think about before. And so that's one thing. And then
I love that.
And then secondly is, I like to say, we want to create a life by design. I want you to fall into your habits. I don't want you to struggle through them. And so what you do is you design your environment with health in mind. So many of us program our environments with productivity in mind and efficiency in mind. And so I try to put everything in one little corner, and it looks so nice and it looks so great, but yet it is so unequivocally obstacle ridden for the health of how we feel. And so, for example, where I built our podcast studio where I am, right next door, I've got a bike, I've got a rower, I've got a treadmill, I've got these things. So for me to go and pop over and do 15 minutes because I've got a break is super easy. For me to go, when I travel, here's an easy one. I travel about 115 days a year. And the non-negotiable for me with how I design my day is when I come home, the very next morning, I make sure my group of men that I have show up here every Saturday know that I'm getting home that night before. And so at 6 a.m. the next morning, I'll put out to the group of 25, 30 men, hey, whoever wants to come for a workout tomorrow morning at 6, we're doing it at my home. Why? Because it causes me to get up and start my day. And so I have this rule. There's 3 laws to creating a habit that sticks. Number 1 is never miss a Monday. What does Monday look like for you? That might be different for each person. A Monday for me, I consider a Monday the first day after I get home, because that is now how I kick my week off. And so what does that look like? So never miss a Monday. The second is never miss 2 days in a row. If I miss one day, my next priority is I'm not missing that second day, because what that teaches me is it teaches me to have a discipline of compromise rather than a discipline of commitment. The third is if I miss 2 days in a row, ultimately I come back to, okay, what is the MVP, minimal viable process, minimal viable product that I can do today, minimal viable progress. So if I had a 45-minute workout planned, what does a 4 to 5 minute workout look like today that I'm able to get done? And then, which leads us to the last one, which is the law of never zero. I will never take zero on a day. Why? Because anything times zero is zero. So if I can't go and get my 2 10-minute walks in, but I can get 2 1-minute walks in, great. I did 10% of what I was supposed to today. It's not zero. But then I go back to the law of never two, and I'm hitting it tomorrow. So you start to optimize and walk through those 4 laws, and you start to ultimately become the identity of who God says you are. Because at the end of the day, the only thing holding you back from being consistent through habits is the identity of who you see yourself as. And oftentimes you're operating under the identity that the world gave you, not the identity of who God says you are. And the moment we get clear as to who God says you are, that is the moment that we want to adjust our habits, change our habits, walk in freedom so that we can ultimately abide by who he says we are, not agreeing with who the world has told us we are.
Justin, so good. I want to end just with 2 questions, totally a pivot here. So you're currently working with people like Brandon Lake, like Rich Wilkerson. And I know just from the relationships in my life, so many of them have been the hand of God. So acknowledging that and honoring that, tips on how to connect with people. If there's a relationship that you want for business, a relationship that you want for like whatever it might be, to learn from, what is your tips on connecting with people, and what have you seen God honor?
Show up and serve with no expectation of anything in return. I mean, it's that simple. And I think so. That's the first thing. The second thing is be obedient. For a long time, I knew, I've never known Brandon. I never knew who, I just got attuned to his music probably 3 years ago. Didn't really know who he was. But there was this moment that I saw him and I was like, you know what? It would be so cool to be able to help him on his health journey, because I can't imagine what it's like on tour. And I had this opportunity to go and speak at an event. I agreed to go speak at this event. And about 2 weeks prior, I was given this invitation to go hike Mount Kilimanjaro. And this guy, it was one of my friends, his wife had gotten pregnant, so she couldn't go anymore. So he had a free ticket. It was like a $25,000 trip for nothing. I was like, my gosh, this sounds right up my alley. Let's go. And as soon as he asked me, I said, yes, I'm in. When is it? And it was the same date as this event. And I said, you know what? Just let me pray on it. As soon as I prayed on it, I said, Lord, what do I need to do in order to go to this thing? And I kept praying and praying and praying and praying. And I heard, after probably the 10th prayer of silence, I heard, ask me a different question. And I said, okay, Lord, where do you want me to be? And he said, you made a commitment. Your character is your word. You know what to do. And I was like, son of a gun. And so anyways, I ended up going. I did my talk. A man came up to me after. He's like, hey, I love what you do. I can't afford your services, but can you just help guide me on some of these things? So we got some blood testing done with him. We did some different other work with him, and transformed his life. It was incredible to see where he went from where he was. Served him just because I loved the man. He had an aura about him. He was special. We just connected. And I was like, yeah, for sure. Let's get on some calls. Let's go through some things. Let's help you. And changed his life. And, we were sitting at the Thanksgiving dinner table, and I got a text message from him. He said, hey, I just want to thank you so much for what you've done in my life. Can I FaceTime you really quick? Sure. Okay. Maybe just to say thank you. As I got on the FaceTime, it was him and Brandon. And little did I know I was serving his dad. And so it was at that moment that I learned that Brandon was struggling with his health holistically from tour and the strain of it and the carry. And he said, hey, can you come and help him? And so found myself up there a week later, and the rest is history. We're 2 years deep. And now that's led to Phil Wickham. That's led to all of these other people in through the entertainment and business or the entertainment space. And forget the 2,500 people and the number of pastors and business owners and different leaders that we serve. And obviously that led then to the birth of Holy Health and now redeeming the health of the church from the inside out. And it's just been, all of that comes through obedience. And so number one is show up in people's lives, serve without any expectation of anything in return. And second, is just be obedient to where God guides you. Because at the end of the day, if the promise is life and life abundantly, we have to also recognize that the enemy is lurking around to steal, kill, and destroy. And so what does it look like to realize the promise of God? It means that we have to be obedient to the word of God. We can't have his will our way. We have to be willing to step into these things and do it in a way that matters.
Justin, man, you're a spark plug for the soul. Where do you want to point us? Is it a book, like your podcast? Like, where do you want to point us?
Yeah.
If I want to start this journey of prioritizing my health, where should I go?
Yeah, so there's really two places. Number one, if you're a business owner, if you're a leader, if you're somebody who's wanting to go on a deep dive journey, ownitcoaching.com is the place to go. It's where Brandon and Darius and Rich and Phil and all these different people from the business, pastoral, and entertainment side go. But if you're like, hey, I want to start this journey and do it in a small group or do it within my church or dip my toe in, that's what Holy Health has been created for. So holyhealth.org is where you can find that and step in there and go on a journey with a community and go back. And what we like to say is we've tried healing the medical way. We've tried healing the biohacking way. What does it look like to actually heal God's way and be able to find life and life abundantly?
Well, thank you so much for tuning in today, Adam and Justin. That was a great conversation. So Adam, what are your couple of takeaways? What are you gonna own this coming few months?
I'm trying to drink more water. So I'm gonna
replace
try to
those Monster Energy drinks with water once in a while.
It's so hard. I don't know about that. He called out monsters in the.
Really?
Yes. And I was like, okay, you're hitting close to home.
I'm gonna hang up right now.
So I'm trying to drink more water, but the 3-2-1 thing of 3 hours before you go to sleep, don't eat. 2 hours before you go to sleep, don't have any deep thinking or hard decisions. And then 1 hour before you go to sleep, don't look at a phone.
3 hours before you go to sleep, you're not supposed to eat.
Yeah. He's like, it's
whoa.
Not, he's like, it's not good for you. And then go to sleep and wake up at the same time each day. I'm trying my hardest to go to sleep. I wake up at the same time every day, but I'm trying. That's my takeaways.
Just being consistent with
That's my takeaways. I hope you have takeaways as well. I'm so grateful for our partners who make this possible. Thank you so much to all of you who listen in. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Thanks, guys.